Ele foi do céu ao inferno e voltou. Hoje eu tenho o prazer de tomar uma com Blaze Bayley, ex-vocalista do Iron Maiden. Antes de continuar, não esquece de curtir o vídeo, assinar o canal, ativar as notificações e considere ser um membro aqui do clube. Dá uma olhada nas vantagens.
Curte nosso conteúdo? Então vem participar do Clube Tubes. Por uma pequena quantia você vai ter acesso ao grupo do clube no WhatsApp, conteúdos exclusivos, assistir aos vídeos novos antes de todo mundo, dar nota nas resenhas e até escolher tema de episódio. Isso entre outras vantagens, hein? Mais detalhes na descrição. Vem tomar uma com a gente!
Blaze Bayley, first of all, it's an honor and a great pleasure to speak with you. You certainly don't remember, but we've already shared the same stage. I mean, my band opened your show here in Recife in 2003 at Doca's house. So I'm a huge fan, and it was very nice of you to make room in your schedule to talk to your Brazilian fans. So thanks for being here.
Okay, nice to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, so congratulations for the album War Within Me. In my opinion, it's one of the best of your career and one of the best albums of the year. Yeah, wow.
Thank you.
My favorite tracks are 303, Warrior, and the Science Trilogy, as I like to call it. What are your favorite tracks?
It's too difficult to choose. It changes every time. 18 Flights is a true story. It's about a tour where we went to Coquimbo in Chile, and beautiful gig called Blaze Fest. They made a special festival for me. Big posters everywhere, banners, Blaze Fest, and lovely venue, great lights, sound, very close, 10 meters from the beach, the venue, wonderful. And when we went on stage, in the middle of song number 5, an earthquake started.
Wow.
All the power goes out. It completely dark, all the fans running out the building, and then we got a message on the phone, tsunami warning.
Wow.
In Spanish and English, every phone the same message, and we're 10 meters from the ocean. So I'm really heavy metal, but I was scared. So they got us to higher ground. We had to wait there about 4 hours for the all clear. When we went back to the venue, bits of the venue had fallen off and were in the street.
Yeah.
But lucky, none of my fans were hurt. So
thankfully.
Yeah, so that was good. And then the promoter said, well, will you write a song about it? And I have written songs about gigs before. And I thought of the very famous song by Deep Purple, Smoke on the Water.
Yes.
And I thought, well, they had a fire, we had an earthquake. So I think it's worth writing about.
Yeah,
certainly.
So,
and it turned out really good. And it's the story of that earthquake. But on that tour, it was 18 flights and 15 shows. It was just crazy, absolutely crazy. And at every concert, it was a free meet and greet for all my fans before COVID. So everybody that came, and a lot of times the meet and greet lasted longer than the concert. Because in Brazil, it's 350, 500 people. In Argentina, it's 500 people. Everywhere, man, it was crazy. But I was very lucky that I have such wonderful, loyal, incredible fans that really support me. So yeah, it was a crazy day. So sometimes that's my favourite because it's so crazy and it's a completely true story. And other times, I think pull yourself up. We did a really good job on that. It's a pleasure to sing that one as well.
Yeah. One thing I enjoy about your music is that it retains that classic heavy metal quality. Been around for such a long time. How has your songwriting process changed? Do you have a certain formula?
Well, I like to think of it as catching butterflies. Butterflies only around when the weather is exactly right. So if you don't catch them then, you're not going to get any butterflies. And that's like some of the ideas. So little fragments of ideas will come and you've got to catch them, wake up, write them down or record them on the dictaphone or something like that. And then it's normal really, I think for a lot of people, is we get together, me and my co-writers on the last couple of albums. It's been with Chris Appleton. We say, right, what have we got? And we'll have a couple of lyrics here or a melody here or a guitar riff here or some idea, you know, I want to do a fast song or and then we see what we've got left from the last sessions that perhaps didn't work at that time, and we have a fresh look at them. And sometimes we go, oh no, it should go there, should do that. And other times we go, no, I still hate it. So that's it really. And we piece things together. We always talk about the kind of album that we want. What's the feeling that we want? On this album, War Within Me, then I needed to have a positive feeling for my fans.
Yes.
Because I've been through the darkness, I've been up and down, through good times, through misery, and my fans have always said, can't wait to hear next album. They always come and see me, buy my t-shirts and my merchandise, and they've supported me and kept me going through very difficult and challenging times. And when I thought about what was happening as the pandemic was starting to get a grip on the world, I thought my fans have been waiting 2 years for the new Blaze Bayley studio album. So when they get it, and they're in the challenge of a pandemic and all other things going on, problems, how are they going to feel? I want them to feel good. I want my fans to feel better at the end of War Within Me than they did at the start. And when my fans go, I've got to start a day that I don't want to get out of bed, I want them to be able to say, you know what, the music is War Within Me. That's what I'll listen to. And in every detail, Chris Appleton and myself, as we went through the arranging and the songwriting, right, is this lyric using the right melody? Is the right chord behind this? How is this sounding? What is the feeling that we are getting? And if the journey wasn't positive, we would go back and look again at different elements and keep going until we had everything in place that we felt every song is complete in its own way, and each one has in some way a positive message, using simple words in some places that I use to tell myself, come on, don't give up, keep going, don't feel sorry for yourself, one more step, keep going. And other songs about heroes like the scientists and the 303 Squadron, heroes whose country was taken over and invaded, yes, and their families butchered and murdered, and those brave men made their way from Poland all the way across Europe to the United Kingdom and joined the Air Force in the United Kingdom so that they could go and fight the people that stole their homelands. Completely true story, magnificent heroes fighting against an oppressive regime. So yeah, those are the things that I wanted to do. Have something positive, have the kind of energy and message that my fans have given me over the years, sharing their stories about what music means to them, what some of my songs mean. I'm not an important person in the world or in music. I'm very small. But for me, it's very humbling to know that my music and my lyrics, sometimes that can help people and they use it to help them. That's a very humbling thing for me. So I'm lucky that I have got to speak to my fans and say thank you. And when it came time to make the War Within Me album, really I needed to do my best for my fans that rely on me to help them feel good.
Yeah, I mean, the last song of the album, Every Storm Ends, is exactly about that. Things will gonna be better, right?
Yeah, but it is difficult to believe.
Yeah.
When you're in a mess, when you're struggling, when everything goes wrong, then it's difficult to think that it will end. But you go through these things, we go through these things in life, and there are a couple of things that are true. And it's horrible, but you don't know how strong you are until you are tested, and life will test you.
Yes.
And when you know you've been through the darkest times, then you know you can get through it again. And that's the message of the song. To remember, I suffer from depression. I have mental problems. There's darkness in my life, and sometimes it overwhelms me, and sometimes I can push it away. And that's what Every Storm Ends is about.
Yeah, it's a beautiful and important message. Blaze, would you say Chris Appleton is your Randy Rhoads?
That is a great analogy, a really great analogy, because we work together, but also we invade each other musically. He will come to me, well, why don't you try it this way? Or I don't think that's the best thing for you to be doing. And I will do exactly the same. I really feel that you don't sound as good as you are because you're doing it that way. Let's try it this way. Yes. And together we build the stories musically, lyrically, and emotionally. And we're always thinking of the sound. Now we were able to do the whole production ourselves on this one. It was challenging and difficult, but what it meant was that creatively you don't stop with the songwriting and the performance. You actually keep going creatively into the mix and the final master, so that you are taking, Chris and I are taking our listeners on a journey, and we're directing, listen to this now, focus on this now, hear this now, and guiding them through a journey that should be enriching and make them feel positive, or at least less bad than when they started to listen to the album. So it is a very good analogy, because we both love that era of Ozzy Osbourne's career. We both love those old songs and the unusual formats and a different guitar work. So that is a good analogy. It's, I think, a very intense working relationship. When we're together, it's tough, because we both have to give, and we're both proud men with our own ideas that we won't let go of. So I want it this way. Well, I don't think that's the best way. Well, I do. Well, I don't. Well, let's try. So this is how it happens.
Yeah.
And then in the end of the album, when the final mix is done, we hate each other. We hate each other. We never want to talk again. And then a few weeks later, little message. Oh, a good review of the album. Oh, yeah. So that's it. And then we're back. But it's almost every time. It's so intense. It's so emotional. We're so connected. The music is so important to both of us. That's why we're very passionate men, and music is our life. So parts of what we do are incredible, and then other parts of what we do are sheer hard work and using our technique and spending hours going round that, no, not that, that, no, not that, try that there, no, that next to that, no, and look, that next to, yeah, that's it. So it's a challenge and it's hard work, but we love it, and it's British heavy metal, because that's the sound that I grew up with. And there are always, for me, a couple of standout records where, for me, the guitar, the electric guitar, is in a very strong place.
Yes.
But it doesn't sacrifice the vocal. And when those two things align, for me, that's the sound of British heavy metal. And I think that's the sound that we have on this album. And we've kept the sound very simple. So you can, after you've listened to it 3 or 4 times, you can start to identify each individual sound. There's not too much there, but also you don't just identify it, you can start to feel the sound, the guitars, the vocals, the way the drums and the bass start to fit together. And so it's a lot of work, but I think Chris and me, we both feel this is the most complete album that we've done out of the ones where we've worked together. And also the reaction from my fans, that They have every Blaze Bayley album, and many of my fans say this is the best one. And it's the newest.
Yeah.
I started so many years ago, and I'd done a lot of albums of my own for my fans to say that this is a favorite album for many of them. It's incredible for me to hear that at my age, at this part of my career. I'm so lucky. My voice is still good. I'm finding every time we record different areas and way to use my voice and what notes and what melodies resonate. So I'm very, very lucky, and I've been able to carry on because I have a wonderful team around me, a small, very hard-working team, and a lot of wonderful, loyal fans in Brazil and around the world.
Yes, and I couldn't agree more with your fans. To me, it's the best album of your career. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I wanna ask you still about War Within Me, about the science trilogy. Why talk about Alan Turing, Nikola Tesla, and Stephen Hawking? They are not a very common theme in heavy metal.
Well, for me, I like to write about true characters and people who face adversity. And I've done songs about historical characters before. Burt Munro, who broke the land speed record on a motorcycle, aged 65. And Galileo and other historical characters. So I'd wanted to do something about Nikola Tesla for a long time. The way that it seemed that telepathy was a part of Nikola Tesla's life. As a young boy, he dreamed of a water wheel and Niagara Falls. As a man, he invented the first hydroelectric power plant in the world and built it at Niagara Falls for Westinghouse. So that is amazing to me. His goal was to be able to transmit power to anyone, anywhere in the world, electrical power. And I believe he would have achieved that dream if he'd had the right kind of backing. If Elon Musk and Tesla, Nikola Tesla, were alive at the same time, imagine if those two collide. Man, what incredible. So I wanted to do something about that because he's somebody that is often forgotten, but his invention and his theories and his motor, his electrical motor, that's what we use in most of the world for our light, for our power, for our computers. Where would we be without the electricity, you know, that was made available by Nikola Tesla? So I wanted to do something about Alan Turing because he's widely regarded as the godfather of modern computers.
Yes.
And his dream was of artificial intelligence in a machine. So this song is a warning and a celebration of the man, the amazing mind of the genius inventing a computer cracking a code that saved thousands and thousands of lives, that probably saved the UK from starving to death by finding U-boats in World War II with the machine that he invented. But there's a darkness as well. The Turing test is the test for artificial intelligence. And here's my problem. The human is in one room and the entity is in another room. The human has to decide if this entity is human or machine.
Yes.
So, can you see? The machine has to convince the human that it is human. That is a lie. The machine does not say, hello, I'm a machine with a personality. It says, I'm a human being. And so the human is already suspicious because he knows it's a test. They know it's a test. And the machine is already lying. And so, for what is possibly the next evolution of intelligence on this planet, it starts with suspicion and lies. That's not a good start for artificial intelligence and humanity to be in harmony and save this world. I wanted to say that in this song. Stephen Hawking was told he had 3 years to live by the doctor. Oh, most people in your condition with this disease are dead in 3 years. And Stephen Hawking said to that doctor, I got a lot of work to do. And 49 years later, Stephen Hawking, with no voice, in a chair, crippled, is still working and giving lectures and writing books and making discoveries about the universe right up to the end. So for me, that's a real hero. I don't know if my body degenerated and I was left with my mind 100%. I don't know if I could go on. I think it's a true hero with true courage that managed to do that. And I wanted to acknowledge Stephen Hawking, the man, the warrior, the courageous human being that did not accept what he was told and went on to do incredible work.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Blaze, I wanna go back in time a little bit and ask you about your time with Iron Maiden. I'm sure everybody asks you about that. Do you have any regrets?
I can't really think about it in those terms, because for me it was an incredible experience, and this album, War Within Me, is the way it is because of the things I started learning in Iron Maiden, working with the guys and with Steve Harris, finding another part of my voice, learning a bit more about taking the song from your head into the rehearsal and then getting it on the record the way you heard it in your head. I never had experience of that before, and all of those things I learned. I loved working with two guitars as well. So a lot of things from my time in Iron Maiden the lessons I've learned have shaped the albums that I've made and the work that has followed until I've gotten to War Within Me, which any Iron Maiden fan will be able to tell the direct influence of Iron Maiden and Steve Harris on my songwriting style. So I can't really regret much about it. Sometimes it was the best job in the world. Sometimes it felt like work. And you never stop moving. I loved being on a long tour, but it was very difficult for me to come off that tour. And I think it was for the guys, the rest of the guys in the earlier days, because you come out of this tour bubble and go, well, what's real life like then? You know, because normally what's been my reality is going on stage for 10,000, 20,000, 60,000 people, singing, having a great time, doing what I love. Back home, what do I do now? So that was certainly a challenging part of it. Yeah. But really, you know, I was treated very well by everyone in Iron Maiden, the management, all the guys in the band. Bruce Dickinson has always been a friend to me before I was in Maiden and after and during when I was in Maiden. He's one of the most incredible voices ever in the history of music. Not heavy metal, not just heavy metal. Bruce Dickinson has one of the most important voices in popular music, next to, you know, voices as big as Pavarotti and Elvis Presley. As important as that, I will put Bruce Dickinson up there with Robert Plant and all of those huge voices. So for me, I can't regret much, because where I am right now, it's humble, and it may not seem much to some people, but I really don't give a fuck about what people think of me. I'm living my dream, and I'm doing that. I'm able to do that, write music, be a professional singer, perform concerts, make the music I want to make, because I've had support from incredible, loyal fans from around the world when I really needed it. So when I look forward and I think, well, what songs will I include in my set? There's always 4 Maiden songs in my set. We always do Virus, because it's my version of Virus, and we never did it live with Maiden.
Yes.
And for me, I've done a slight rearrangement of it, and it's different now to when we started, but I feel it's a really good version of that song, and I feel really good. That's one that the whole band collaborated on. And when I look back and I think about the important things and some of the lyrics I did, and I'm so proud, and I learned a lot. But Klansman and Sign of the Cross, A Man on the Edge, and Future Real are all really big, important songs. But
yes,
for me, in my heart, the most important song for me personally from my time in Iron Maiden is Como Estas, Amigos. That comes from a place of sadness and love. and it is something that is against war and against conflict. When I was in Argentina, I met incredible, wonderful, lovely people, everybody interested in music. No one tried to fight me or have a go at me or anything. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. So for me, Como Estas Amigos is about conflict with Argentina and Great Britain, and hoping that there can be a full reconciliation and peace based on where there are more things that we have in common than we have differences. So that's why, for me, I think Como Estas Amigos, I did my best at the time, but as my voice has changed, as it's got a slightly darker through the years, when I sing that song, I feel it now even more than when we first did it in the studio.
Yes. I saw the other day a video of you singing Blood Brothers in a motorcycle. Yeah.
It's my friend Thomas Fyson. He is an incredible classical guitarist, and he has a project called Nylon Maiden. And he does his own classical guitar arrangements of Iron Maiden songs. And he asked me, I think it was his first album, asked me to come and sing a couple of my era songs. And Blood Brothers, it's a huge song, and I really wanted to sing it. And Thomas did a special arrangement. He said, well, I would love to have a version of Blood Brothers with Blaze Bayley singing on my Nylon Maiden album. And so we sat down and worked it out, and it just went great. And yes. I said, I love riding motorcycles. And I said, Tom, I'd really like to ride a motorcycle in the video. And he goes, aha, my friend has a motorcycle. So they're sitting in the back of the car, holding the camera, and I'm following the car on the motorcycle with, oh man, it was a lot of fun. A bit cheesy, but a lot of fun, man. And a beautiful song.
Yes, and is it true that the Brave New World album has songs for your time with the band, like, I don't know, Blood Brothers from the Virtual 11? Which songs?
I can't remember. I was drinking back then. So I don't have a good memory of those times. I don't drink anymore, so my memory is improving now. But really, it was a blur because we did so many different things in the studio and everything's jumbled up. You know, sometimes I get confused between what we did on Virtual 11 and what we did on the X Factor and when we did it, and oh man. So it's a big jumble in my head. What I can say is that era of Iron Maiden started the progressive era.
Yes.
And a change of direction. We could see it coming, but that album really did change direction. And for a lot of people at the time, it was an uncomfortable album to listen to. And now people go back because after Dance of Death and all the other albums and new album, and they go, maybe I'll listen to X Factor. And of course, there's a generation of Maiden fans that have never heard X Factor.
Yes.
Or Virtual 11. And when you put them in a context of it's the first time you've heard them against Brave New World, Dance of Death, Matter of Life, Death, all of this, then it's a different kind of album.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people appreciate X Factor and Virtual 11 more now than they did when it was released. And for me, that feels really good, because what it means is, even after 25 years, that heart and that passion that we put into those songs and into those recordings is still there. And
Yes.
it was real. And when you go and you listen with an open mind and an open heart, you can feel that there is something special there. And then I come to my own album, War Within Me, and I remember what we were doing, those things that we wrote, and all of that, and those lessons I put onto my War Within Me album. Different style to Iron Maiden, because I'm more straight British heavy metal. Maiden are much more progressive in what they do.
Yes.
But it's nice sometimes to sing those old songs. So what I do is, there's so many people that never heard those songs live, and they never will, a lot of them, that I do a special anniversary set list. My songs from my Iron Maiden period 25 years ago, and I sometimes do that at festivals, and other times I do my regular set list with my new album songs and my solo stuff.
Yeah. So, how did it feel to see your name in Steve Harris' Thanks You on Senjutsu?
Oh, well, that was lovely. What a lovely, lovely thing to do. So it was very, very nice. We're still friends and phone each other occasionally. I'm going to see British Lion on this tour in a few days' time. So I think it was really nice. And I think it was a difficult time back then.
Yes.
And in happier times, it's nice to remember that we stood side by side against grunge, against CD sales disappearing. EMI closed all their factories down, and we stood side by side and said, no, this is heavy metal. This is Iron Maiden, and Iron Maiden don't change for fashion. They only change for passion. And I think that's a part of what we did. And there were some tough gigs where some people, it felt like some people came to see us because they wanted to see the last day of the dinosaur before it died. And in other places, people came to see us because it's Iron Maiden and we're never going to die.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, fun, and challenging times that we had. I think the new album is really, really good. I haven't had much chance to listen to it and really get into it. So I look forward to doing that over Christmas.
Okay, so Blaze, we have supporters on the channel, and one of the benefits is to ask questions to our guests. So Igor Leite is asking, which songs from the Bruce era did you like to sing, and which would you like to have sung but you didn't have the opportunity?
Well, there's a few that I wasn't able to sing at that time, and a few of those I've asked Thomas Fyson to do a special arrangement. So one song that I really enjoy doing is Wasted Years. Such a beautiful and emotional song, a joy to sing. So I really enjoy doing that one. And Blood Brothers as well. So I think those two are the main ones. I don't do them in my own set list, but they're two that I enjoy doing. And I think Trooper as well is a really fun song to do. Sometimes in my unplugged set, I'll do that as an encore. I like a lot of the, well, most of the Bruce era songs. I really like Bruce's voice, and such a wonderful singer, and he has a great way to interpret a lyric in an unusual way. And his best performances are absolute genius and monumental. There's a few moments through his career where something happens on a particular song and it is just awe-inspiring and magical. And I think one of those songs, for me personally, everybody has their own opinion, is Infinite Dreams. Bruce singing Infinite Dreams, I really feel as if it's the man, the character talking to me. And there's a sadness and a darkness and a passion, a melancholy to that performance and that wonderful lyric as well.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of the ones that I enjoy.
Yeah. Eduardo Gasperin asks, how was the experience of working alongside Andy Snip? Do you guys plan to work together again?
No, we don't plan to work together. What we did was we got together for 4 albums, and it started with Silica Messiah, my first solo album. We worked very closely together on that album, and then on the next album, 10th Dimension, then on, I think it's Live As It Gets, and then on Blood and Belief album was the last one I did with Andy. We learned a lot from each other working together. He's an incredible, talented producer and songwriter, and very meticulous, and he's able to keep patient when a lot of the really boring, tedious work has to be done. And that is the work that creates the space for other things to shine. But it's not everybody that will take the time to do all the little tiny details and get it right. As well as that, he's got an incredible sense of timing. So he can listen to a drummer and just zone in on exactly what the tempo is doing and what it could or should be doing instead of what it is. So a great producer. I learned so much, and really I think he was the inspiration for me to then try to produce my own albums. And I think, you know, the last 4 albums have been pretty good. and the new album War Within Me, that's a really good, for me, that's a really good production. We had compliments on the production. A part of that is what I learned with Andy Sneap.
Yeah. Jose Carlos is asking, why did you break up the band from The Man Who Would Not Die and Promise and Terror era?
I was broke. I had a bad record deal. I had no money. I was suicidal. And I couldn't carry on. So that's it. I couldn't keep a band together anymore. I was massively in debt. I'd spent all my money making those albums. They weren't successful. I mean, nothing commercially. I mean, nothing. I never got any money from my solo albums that I did with SPV Steamhammer. They paid the recording. I never got any royalty. They failed commercially. And so we started Man Who Would Not Die with a dream. We made great music. We made great music with Promise and Terror. But at the end of it, I was broken and almost homeless. So something had to change. Yeah. So that was it. I had to finish the band. I stopped heavy metal. I went and got a job in a factory, and I forgot about music for a little while. And then I just started going out as a special guest for people and working with different musicians in different countries. And then a lot of things, working with Tom Svensson on the acoustic guitar, or Michelle, doing acoustic gigs. I gave up on heavy metal. I had enough. After Promise and Terror, heavy metal was over for me. I thought that was it. My recording career was gone, and I would never make another serious album. But I was doing an acoustic show, classical acoustic, with Thomas Svensson in Manchester, and Chris Appleton was the guy mixing the sound there, and I knew him from when he had supported me on the Promise and Terror, on the Man Who Would Not Die tour. And he said to me, if you ever want to try again with heavy metal, I'll come with you and I'll support you on that journey, because I really think that you can do it.
Wow.
And a few, I mean, months and months later, I said, look, I want to do a tour. Do you want to be the backing band for the tour? And that was my best of album. And he said yes, and we did the tour, and it worked well. And then I said, right, I'm doing an anniversary tour of Silicon Messiah. I want to do one. I said, do you want to be involved? Yeah. And we did that tour, and it was absolutely fantastic. And then we tried to do every tour, and then we tried working together in the studio, and there was a certain connection there, and that's how it started happening. That was the start of my comeback, really, was that Silicon Messiah tour. When Silicon Messiah came out 20 odd years ago, not one concert was booked to perform with the release of the album. When I started working with Chris Appleton, he booked 35 shows around Europe, and we played the entire album, all of the songs off the Silicon Messiah album, and it felt great. And that was when I started to feel, yeah, we can do something. We can this. We were happy, you know, on the Promise and Terror tour. I remember in a couple of gigs, we sold no tickets at all. And when we did the Soundtracks of My Life tour, before the Silicon Messiah tour, Chris Appleton and his band, then we'd get 30 people. We were happy with 30 tickets. And then the next tour, it was 60 tickets. And then it just started to build up. And now I play between, I sell 100 tickets or 500 tickets. And now it's completely different. People that thought I was dead are now fans buying my music. So it's an incredible situation, but that's the truth. I ran out of money. I spent everything trying to keep the band together and make the records, and it almost killed me.
Yeah. So Leandro Bianchi wants to know if you are already working on something new songs, and do you intend to perform in Brazil soon?
The next new thing is a Wolfsbane album next summer. We found time to get together and write some songs, and Jace Edwards has a really great studio, and we went there to record and write, and we've come up with an album that sounds more like Wolfsbane than Wolfsbane. So that will be the next new studio thing, and that will be next summertime, and it'll be on Spotify and everything. And in the meantime, because of the pandemic, everything is a year later for touring. So I would have come to Brazil January, February, before Carnival, but now that is going to probably be January 23 instead of 22. So Brazil is in my heart. It's an important country for me. I've spent so much time there. My first wife was from Brazil. So it's an important place, and I love to visit whenever I can, and I love to perform for my Brazilian fans.
So, last question. Paulo Peterson said, you played an incendiary show at the Docas in Recife in 2003. The same show my band opened for you, and one of the biggest. He says it was one of the biggest live performance in that space. He remember you skateboarding at the sound check and climbing on the PA during the show. Do you remember? Do you have memory of that show?
Here's my problem: is that I play so many places that it has to be certain key things for me to remember the place. Then I'm like that. So, like the drum riser, what was on the back wall? Was it outside? What? And once I get a couple of these things, bang, then I remember the show, what I did, everything about it. But it's very difficult to say the show in Recife, because I played there quite a few times.
Yes.
You know, over the year in different venues. So it's all such a long time ago for me.
Yeah. So, well, thanks again for this interview. Blaze, do you have any message for your Brazilian fans?
Yeah, I would like to say muito obrigado, Brazil, for your support from my heart. Thank you so much. I hope that you will enjoy my new album, War, within me. Muito, muito obrigado, amigas, amigos.
Thank you, Blaze. It's been an honor.
Ciao.